talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.
Welcome back to another episode of Caged In. I'm your host, Chris DiCarlo. Today we got a very special guest making his debut on the show. It is Jake Caskey. How we doing, my man?
Good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. About time we finally got you on the show, man. No better time than now, considering the magnitude of the fight you got coming up. Cage Titan 68, you're going in there versus Fred Allen Sfeir for the Amateur Featherweight Title. And of course, we're here to talk about that one. But let's dive into your background a little bit first, man. Since this is your first time on the show, let's let the people get to know you a little bit better, man. So, where were you born and raised, and what was growing up like for you?
Yeah, man. First of all, thank you for having me on, bro. Like you said, it's been a while. We've always seen each other around, just never linked up. So glad to finally be here. So I was actually born in Norwich, Connecticut. I was born at Bacchus, but I was a Navy brat. My dad was a commander in the Navy, so I lived all over. I lived in Connecticut a few times, Georgia, California, North Carolina, Hawaii, like all over.
Yeah. That's cool, man. And, growing up while you were going through school, were you playing sports while you were bouncing around, man? And if so, which ones were you involved in?
Oh, absolutely, dude. Lifelong athlete. When I was growing up, man, I played everything. I think I did like swimming at one point, baseball, soccer, wrestling, football, like all of it. I even got into lacrosse a little bit in high school, like any type of competition, any and all competition, bro, I'm in there.
There you go, man. That's awesome. And what was it that caught your eye with MMA? Like, what's the introduction to that sport for you? Tell me about, the first time you got into the gym and why you decided to kind of chase this MMA dream.
Oh, man. So I think it starts probably back when I was like a young kid, probably like early days of UFC, man. I remember like watching UFC with my dad and watching guys like Matt Hughes and BJ Penn and George St. Pierre, like those glory days, like that era. And I remember, because I was new into wrestling at the time, and so my dad would always say like, oh, watch him, he's wrestling, or oh, there's this double leg, oh, that's a half nut, like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching it as a kid and being like, man, I could do that shit. Like I could absolutely do that. So that idea was always in my head, and then throughout high school, I really took to wrestling and ended up going to college on a pretty decent scholarship to wrestle out in Iowa at a NAIA school called Briarcliff University.
Nice.
And I was a shithead, I'll be honest. Like I didn't have my priorities right, man. And one of the biggest regrets of my life is, pissing away those college opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
So I dropped out of school early, came back home, was wasting time for a few years, and finally was like, man, I still got that fire. Like I gotta do something. Ended up linking up with Billy Goff, who I had seen fight a few times, and next day I was down here at the Rough House, and the rest is history, man. I've been here every day since.
That's awesome, man. And, come Cage Titan 68, man, there's going to be a lot of people in the building and maybe people tuned in on Spectation Sports that might not have seen you fight before. So how would you describe your fight style to them if this is their first time seeing you?
Man, if you've never seen me fight before, bro, I bring excitement. You got fighters talk about, they're trying to put asses in seats with selling tickets. Man, I get asses out of seats. That's the kind of fighter that I am. It's not even intentional. It's like I get in there and I wouldn't say out of control because it's all very controlled and calculated, but man, there's violence and there's excitement and I'm bringing a fight. That's what people who never see me can expect.
For sure, man. I can vouch for that as well. I've seen you fight multiple times now in Plymouth. Your fights are always some of the most exciting fights on the cards, man. I'm sure this one's not going to be anything less than that as well. So definitely excited to see you get back in there. It's been a little bit since we've seen you last, so it's going to be refreshing to see you back in there again, man.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Of course, man. Let's get into your fight history a little bit, man. I know you are 3-2 currently as an amateur. I want to talk about your last fight though. Cage Titan 64. You went in there versus Ryan Kennedy. You win that fight with a massive right hand KO in the second round, excuse me. But that first round was ultra exciting as well, man. How did it feel to make a statement like that and literally punch your way to a featherweight title shot?
Oh man, it felt beautiful. I've said to a few people, you know, like, I'm fucked, bro. Like I'm gonna be chasing that high the rest of my life. You know what I mean? Like that is an exhilarating feeling. And you know, to have it happen the way that it did was awesome. You know, that first round, we knew Ryan Kennedy was going to be bringing a fight. Like, you know, he'd only fought once before, but the entire time he was in the cage, it was nonstop action. So we knew to be ready for that. And I knew I just needed to weather the storm and let him gas himself out a little bit, and my shots would present themselves. And that's exactly what happened, you know?
For sure, man. You know, that right hand kind of put him down clean. Was that a shot that you knew was going to be there all night, or is that just kind of one that was like a Hail Mary right hand?
No, I knew, to be honest, I didn't expect that punch to put him out. You know, like I felt like that wasn't even my best punch. You know what I mean? I'm sure a lot of fighters say that, but I knew going into it, if I just threw straight leather down the middle, that it was going to connect. He threw a lot of loopy shots, and we made that read early on. So I knew throwing right down the pipe was going to connect every time, and just landed flush perfectly across the chin. And good night, Irene. That was it.
There you go, man. That highlight will live on, you know, in Cage Titans history, I'm sure. I'm sure we'll be seeing that one, you know, at the end of the year awards as well. But did anything about Kennedy's game surprise you guys at all, or was everything kind of, you know, as planned and as expected?
I knew he was tough going into it. He was fucking tougher than I thought, man. He took a lot of damage before that shot put him out, you know. Might not have looked like a lot of damage. You know, it was back and forth in the first round, but when I land, man, I land heavy, and he ate everything up to that point. So kudos to him. You know, I'm sure the guy is sick of seeing that knockout going around. So I feel bad on that end, but you know, it's just business.
For sure, man. It is what it is. Let's get into your fight camp a little bit. I know you are over at Dexter Vale Tudo. For those that aren't familiar, man, what's the vibe of your gym and the culture that you guys are kind of creating over there?
Oh God, dude, you know, the name of the gym is the Rough House, but it should be the Dog House, because that's what we're fucking breeding over here, man. We got young, hungry killers. You know, we've got Billy Goff leading the charge. You know, paved the way through to the UFC. So you got the rest of us sitting back, you're looking at them like, yeah, man, this shit works. Like, we can do it. You know, so that kind of energy in the gym has been huge in the past couple of years, you know, and we've got a lot of young up and coming guys, Jared Sweet, Eric Zane, you know, these are new, fresh names that are going to be making an impact in the scene. And it's fucking awesome to be a part of.
That's awesome, man. Those are names that we'll definitely keep our eyes out for sure. And you mentioned Billy Goff at the top of the show. You just mentioned him a little bit here, man. I know he is a key part of you guys' team. What's it been like, you know, seeing his rise to the UFC, getting that huge first win over in Singapore, and, you know, just kind of having him side by side with you guys in the gym every day, man? What's it been like kind of seeing his rise, and what have you learned from him the most?
Oh man, it has been awesome to watch the evolution of Billy, you know, throughout his career. You know, I came in when he was still very early on in his pro career. You know, he was only a few fights into his pro career. So to be there, you know, to watch, you know, the Cameron Lakinov fight, the Gracie fight in Bellator, going on to take the double belt in CES, like it's just a testament to the fighter, the kind of fighter that Mike Dexter is building out here, you know, just all heart, all dog, and a threat from every position. You know, we've seen Billy win in multiple ways, and I think all our fighters do a great job of bringing that same kind of skill into each fight.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And, you know, going into your fight at Cage Titan 68, who were some of your key training partners for this camp specifically? And then who are you going to see in your corner on fight night?
So obviously Billy, one of my top training partners. You got Austin Shala, who is arguably, I don't give a shit what anybody says, one of the best strikers in the state, you know, when he puts it all together in New England. Eric Zane, Jared Sweet, Randy Francis. Eric and Jared are both fighting November 9th as well. So, you know, it's nice having guys on the same card in a fight camp. So you're all feeding off each other, you know, testosterone's through the roof. Everybody's screaming and cussing and going at it at practice. It's awesome, dude. And then as for the corner, it'll probably be Mike, Dexter. I keep calling him Mike. He's going to fucking kill me. It's going to be Dexter in the corner, Billy, and Austin Shala.
There you go, man. That's awesome. Let's get into it then, man. Cage Titan 68 going in there versus Fred Allen Sfeir, who is 6-2. This one's going down for the amateur featherweight title on November 9th in Plymouth, Massachusetts. First and foremost, man, what do you know about Fred, and then how do you feel about him as an opponent?
So I'll be honest. I don't know too terribly much about Fred. I know that he can fucking fight. I know he's a great fighter. Comes out of a great school. I think he has, you know, a bit more of a grappling background based off of what I could be dead wrong. But everything I've seen, you know, he's got good grappling. He's got submissions. Obviously, those guys over at Cartel, they've got great jiu-jitsu. He's got great striking, great cardio. You know, like this is the kind of fight that gets me rock hard. You know what I mean? This is the kind of thing that I have been chasing this challenge. I've been calling out guys trying to fight tough opponents. And, you know, finally we've got one to step in, and I am over the moon excited for this fight. Like I would fight this kid this weekend. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready to go. And, I said this in another interview, but I think this fight has potential to be, you know, one of those Cage Titans classics, like one of those ones that, you know, they play in between fights at future events because it's that good of a fight. You know what I mean? I think this has all the ingredients to make that happen.
For sure, man. Definitely a fight on this card that you circle and make sure that you are in your seat and don't miss this one. That's for sure. Stylistically, man, when you break this thing down, skill versus skill, where do you see yourself having the advantages here versus guy?
You know, I don't know the kid. I've got nothing bad to say about him, but I feel like I can take this fight wherever I want. I think I out wrestle him. I think I outstrike him. I think, you know, you don't see me throw up a lot of submissions often, but I think if I choose to do so, that I can have my way with that. If he's going to try and submit me, I mean, he better break it or he better kill me, because I'm not going to tap. And people know that if you watch my fights. So the way I'm feeling going into it, you know, is wherever I want to take it is where the fight's going to go. And he's going to be responding to that, you know. It is a high level fight. It is, but at the end of the day, it is still an amateur fight, and amateur is not my end goal. Pro is the end goal. So I'm using my amateur career not to train to beat specific guys, but to work different facets of my game. So you're going to see an evolution out of me. You know, the next step in my career is going to be a dominant win on November 9th.
Awesome, man. We're definitely looking forward to that as well. You know, every time that you step inside Plymouth Memorial Hall, man, you bring 100% energy all the time. What is it about fight night specifically that brings that out of you every time?
God, dude, it is so hard to explain. It is so hard to explain. It is the feeling inside of the cage is unlike anything that I have found as of yet in my 28 years of life. Like, and I'm an adrenaline junkie, bro. Like, I snowboard, I, you know, water skiing, like all that stuff, downhill mountain biking. Like I'm constantly looking for that next high, and fighting is just, it's unparalleled. And when I, you know, I've mentioned this before, like, you know, I supremely hate the lead up to the fight. I hate, you know, you're on for the time that the fight is booked until you get into that cage. You are on all the time. Mentally, physically, you're kicked into another gear. But and I hate that part. I hate the anxiety. I hate the fear that comes along with it, because I don't care what any fighter says. You're scared to get in that cage. And if you say otherwise, you're a fucking liar. So I hate that whole buildup, man. But as soon as I step into that cage, it goes away. And I feel free. I feel like I hit a flow state, like an artist in front of a canvas, and I'm just free to express myself.
That's awesome, man. And what can the fans inside Plymouth Memorial Hall expect from Jake Caskey once those cage doors lock on November 9th?
Plymouth Memorial Hall, listen up. I am bringing another fucking banger. Jake Caskey is coming up there November 9th to put asses out of seats and to put an ass on the floor. All right. I'm coming up to finish this fight. I'm getting after it from bell to bell, and fans up there can expect yet another banger out of Jake Caskey.
Awesome, man. I love to hear that. With a win, man, looking into the future, with the win, you will be 4-2 on a 3-fight win streak, Cage Titans amateur champion. Obviously not looking past this fight by any means, but man, looking ahead, what would be the ideal next move for you? Are you looking to defend that belt if you win it, man? And if so, are you looking to go pro after this one, man? What's kind of next for Jake Caskey?
I think a win is going to leave me with options. You know what I mean? I would love to defend the belt. I would love to take the amateur featherweight belt and never let anybody else touch the fucking thing. You know what I mean? But I do want to go pro, and I want to go pro yesterday. I've kind of got my team telling me like, hey man, let's not rush it. There's no need to rush it. Cause once you're pro, you can't go back.
Right.
So, I know there's a January event at Mohegan Sun. The way I'm looking at it is if I make it out of this fight relatively unscathed, we go to reality, we do one more amateur fight, we take their amateur belt, and then we go pro for March or April, something after wrestling season, something after high school wrestling season.
There you go, man. Sounds good. Jake, I appreciate you coming on here, man, and taking the time and talking to me, brother. It's been a long time coming. Very excited to see you get back after it in Plymouth Memorial Hall. Before I let you go, man, where can the people come find you on social media? And do you have anybody you want to shout out, anybody you want to thank? Now's your time.
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me on. And you guys can find me on social media, Jake_Caskey, pretty universal right across the board. And I want to give a big shout out to my sponsors. I've finally got some sponsors, and I'm so grateful to have their support. We've got Tomorrow's Trees LLC down here in southeastern Connecticut, as well as Sadie's Family Trees LLC, two phenomenal tree work companies. You guys need any tree work, particularly storm damage, anything, these guys are the ones to call. My latest sponsor, Donovan's Cove Barbershop. She's a great friend of mine. She keeps me looking handsome for every fight. And my biggest sponsor, a good close friend of mine, Raise the Standard. They're a motivational lifestyle and apparel company. You guys can go to any of my bios and find a link to their site. Check them out. They've got some great gear, some great stuff, and send in a great message. Lastly, want to thank everybody thus far that's been a part of camp. My parents helping with meal prep and all that, lightening that load for me. So blessed. All my teammates at the gym, everybody that's sacrificing their time and giving a part of themselves so that I can chase my dreams. It means a lot to me, and I'm truly eternally grateful for it.
That's awesome, man. Jake, once again, man, thank you for taking the time, man. I'm sure we'll talk again soon. I'm sure we'll see each other inside the building on November 9th, man. Best of luck, and I'll see you soon.
Sir. Thank you, brother. Looking forward to it.
Got down for the count and he can't even talk now. This MMA, what we talking about? Yeah, you tuned into the pod now. Gonna be hard for you to stop now. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in. Yeah, we caged in.